Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm the Edgy English teacher. And a friend asked me one really recently, like, so why don't you start a YouTube channel? I was like, for what? Well, he said, you've been teaching for 20 years. You have a lot to share. And I was like what? And he was like, well, I could tell him about what it's like being in the classroom, what it's like dealing with parents and students. And I was like, who wants to hear about that? Well, he said, there's money there's money in it. And so, I don't really want to be here, but, I'll do it for the money. Just kidding. Anyway, thanks for joining me in my channel. So yeah, I've been teaching for 20 years and, big public school in big city in America. And I just thought maybe I had a couple of ounces of wisdom I might share with you, and maybe you could start a discussion or some kind of teaching vibe, Anyway, today what I wanted to talk to you about was, some of the things I've learned being a teacher for 20 years plus. I started in 2001, just after the World Trade Center crashed, and, I've seen a lot of changes. I've suffered a lot, dealt with behavioral issue, classroom management, learning how to teach, dealing with administration, dealing with parents. And, I just wanted to give my 2 cents in this whole business of teaching, which I do enjoy, by the way. So anyway, I had 10 things that I've learned after 20 years of teaching, but I don't want to bore you. So I'll just do 5, and maybe I'll do the other 5 some other time. So, let's get it. So, number 5. The less you say, the more kids get it, is my number 5 pick. The less you say, the more kids get it. So, where I'm coming from with that point is that what I have noticed is that kids are paying attention not so much to what you're saying, but to what you're doing, In other words, the hidden messages, the unspoken truths, the unspoken lessons. Let me give you an example, right? So, being a black man who's articulate, being a black man who dresses well, those are very powerful messages I'm sending to students. By the way, all my students are black and some brown students. So these are lessons you can't find in any book. They're called life lessons, if I could say so. And on another level, the way you deal with stress, the way you deal with conflict in the classroom, all these messages are being sent to students who might not have fathers in their life. And so to me, I started to pick up on that about maybe the 10th year of teaching. And I made a conscious effort, to set an example, like what it means to be a black man and a teacher at the same time. So to kind of wrap this up, I think teaching, or a big part of teaching, is the lessons that kids don't necessarily get from the book, but from you, your character, your voice, your tone, the way you carry yourself, right? So I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to share that. All right. Number 4. Yeah, this is dear and near to me. So it's the idea that people who pity teachers, aren't that better off? So what I mean by that is, you know, I met a lot of people and they would say, I would tell them, yeah, I'm a teacher, and they'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, a lot of pity on teachers. And I'm like, I don't need your pity. I'm doing fine. My salary is really good. You could look it up. 20-year veteran teacher, make good money. And as a matter of fact, any job you go on, there's going to be issues, there's going to be drama, there's going to be office politics. So for me, being in the classroom is just as good as being anywhere, right? I've told teachers, I've told people, as a matter of fact, that, teachers get the summers off, they get all the major holidays off, you teach 5 classes, and you get, downtime, prep time, which is not to say it's not a difficult job, but at the same time, it's very rewarding, dealing with children, teenagers, learning about their lives, learning about the way they think, learning about the way they see the world. To me, it's just as sweet as any job. I can't think of another job that is as rewarding, right? So, teaching is a good gig. All right. So, number 3 of the 10 things I've learned after 20 years of teaching. This is kind of funny. So, it's about schools custodians. So, I had a custodian at my school, and he was the funniest dude for many reasons, right? So I remember he always used to tell me all the politics that I didn't get to see because I left the school building at 3, and he gets there very early and he leaves there very late, so he knows everything that's going on in the building. And so this is the idea that, people who are quote unquote less educated, the custodians, the school staff, actually not only know more about what's going on in the building, but are generally some of the coolest people you want to know. So I just throw that in because I thought that, us who are educated tend to put ourselves a little higher than on the shelf than we ought to be. So shout out to the custodians, school staff, and all the people that make the building run. It's nothing like coming to school after a holiday in a cold building for you to appreciate your custodian. Continuing, of the 10 things I learned after 20 years of teaching, number 2, a good teacher should love his subject more than people. Well, what do I mean? I think knowing your subject and loving your subjects, your subject, is 2 different things. So like me, I'm an English teacher. I love my subject because all my life I've been a reader. Since I was 9 years old, I started reading after wetting the bed and get up and I read the encyclopedias. I would go to the library. I spent hours at the library reading books as a teenager, as an adult. So my love for literature is genuine, and I think for any good teacher, loving their subject radiates onto the kids. And almost like the law of transference, that knowledge, that love transcend onto the students. And it's very, very important because kids are very, I'm not going to say impressionable, but they know a lot. and they see a lot and they feel a lot. So being passionate about your subject, to me, that's half the battle in being a good teacher. All right, one more, which is of the 10 things I've learned after 20 years of teaching. Smelling good should be a job requirement. Well, why do you need to smell good, you may be asking? Well, for me, smelling good is part of the whole package of a good presentation. So when I started teaching, I want to share a story, right? So when I started teaching, I was very, very casual, right? With the jeans, very casual shoes, t-shirts. I was having the hell of a time in the classroom, right? Kids were running all over the place. One time the principal came in, kids were on the floor. I couldn't figure it out. And one day this old white lady, I came for her for advice, and she told me, "You don't look like a teacher." And I was hurt. I said, "How do you mean I don't look like a teacher?" "Well, just look at you, You're in jeans, t-shirt, And after I got over my hurt, I started to say, she was right. So for me, from that day forward, I was conscious of the image I was presenting to the young people. And, I went through a time where I was wearing suits, tailored suits, shoes, and it sort of worked, but it wasn't so much conscious in terms of the children's behavior. But I think unconsciously I was sending a message that they mattered, and the way I know they mattered is by the way I dressed and carried myself. So I think that left long-term impressions on them. And so I went through this whole metamorphosis of, casual to being, very well dressed. And the later stages of my career, I kind of settled down. I'm still formally dressed, but I still think these things matter. Looking good, smelling good. Remember one kid said to me, because I like to wear natural oils and stuff like that. You smell good. And it's not a deal breaker on one level, but it shows competence, it shows character to me, it shows persistence. And I think it matters, right? On a sub-level, right? That you're not just the bummy old teacher, but you do your job and you care about yourself, right? Yeah, so those are 5 things I've learned after 20 years of teaching. And so once again, welcome to my channel. Hope to have many more lessons. Maybe you could get into some books and teaching methods and all that good stuff. Well, anyway, before I leave, I wanted to say that if you tell the truth, you have nothing to remember. Mark Twain said that. See ya.